大怪盗アルセーヌ・ルパンが残した不思議な宝物ルパンコレクションがギャングラーに奪われた。失ったものを取り戻すために戦う怪盗、世界の平和を守るために戦う警察、君はどっちを応援する？
Hello and welcome to LupinRecap vs. PatReview, the podcast that's stirring up a storm. I am your host, Lokamasi, and with me is my co-host, Fefner Masamune.
Hello, it's me, Fefner, talking once again over this show with the prestigious award of having better writing than Atlas, which is a reward that I think most media has now.
Fuck. I've been reading about that all day and it never occurred to me to link that to this. Sakya is a better trans character than anything Atlas has ever come up with, and that's so sad.
Better queer content than Atlas. Because at this point, if you don't do any queer content, still better than Atlas.
Yeah. Queer subtext that is not inherently harmful is so much better than whatever the fuck Atlas is doing.
I forget the name of the dude, but apparently he stepped down at one point, so I don't know, maybe Atlas will be better, who knows?
Maybe we can do one better and he'll get hit by a bus.
Anyway.
I'm tired of people just losing their jobs. I'm ready for some casualties. Anyways, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Lupin Ranger versus Pat Ranger.
So, what are we talking about today?
Thank you for keeping me on track. Today we're going to, hopefully briefly, but maybe not, talk about romance subplots in general in preparation of this episode. Man, do I have some feelings. I don't necessarily want to quote Yahtzee, but he put this better than I think anyone else could. Imagine if you were in an alternate universe where every single work of fiction had to have a line dance in it. How fucking weird that would feel. And that's sort of how we treat romance subplots. We feel like we can just throw them in anywhere. And in fact, you should, because it adds something. I don't know what media executives think. But so many times, they're really not necessary. And they're not handled particularly well.
Yeah.
And the real problem, the real cardinal sin, they're all straight.
All of them.
Every thrown-in romance subplot is 100% straight. The absolute no, that wouldn't count. I'm sorry, the wires in my mind crossed. I was thinking of how in She-Ra there are those two princesses that are married, but that's not a romance subplot. That's just a random thrown-in romantic couple.
They're just married.
That's adjacent but different. That doesn't happen in every work of fiction. The romance subplot does.
Yeah, honestly, I'm fine if you just want to say these characters are romantically interested in one another and just, leave it at that. You don't have to make it a thing every time.
Yeah, and I talked about this, I think last episode, where how I mentioned so many romance subplots are treated as just a conflict, and two characters seem to be fighting each other, with the end result being a romantic relationship. And it's just, what?
That's not great.
Even a show that does everything else so well, I feel like Avatar stumbles a lot with its romance subplot.
A little bit, yeah. It's not awful. It's just...
it's not misogynist, it's not offensive, it doesn't reinforce terrible, stereotypes or anything. It's just sort of, not as well developed as everything else in the show.
Yeah, it's just every once in a while, they blush at one another. They smooched recently.
Well,
it's not really...
recently for us. They smooched in...
The show is old for most people.
Yeah, the show is over, so nothing's recent anymore.
But yeah, it's there is the thing. It's inoffensive. It just exists, and it doesn't really need to.
Honestly, the one scene, way back in episode 1, during the fortune teller episode, where Aang just approaches Guitar and is like, hey, I think I have a thing for you. How do you feel about that? Would have been a much better resolution.
Yeah.
because I say resolution, that's not the right word, would have been a much better way of progressing it, because just have people have a relationship where they just talk. Please.
It's nice whenever that happens.
Honestly, that's why Sokka's romances are so much better.
He actually talks to people.
He fucking talks to his girlfriends. The like episode and a half between him and Yue is like far better developed than Katara. And before you think I'm just being like shipper wars, I don't think Katara and Zuko makes as much sense as everyone seems to think.
That makes less sense.
Sorry. It's because they had the one moment in Ba Sing Se, and I really appreciate
then after that
season
moment,
3 for going like, yeah, there's no way she would bounce back from that.
No, she wouldn't. Like, that happens, and then he betrays them. She hates him more than everybody else in the team does.
Oh god, I don't want to revive the fucking Avatar shipping wars, but I just feel like they didn't write romance well unless Sokka's involved. Which is weird, isn't it?
A little bit.
I do bring it up because that sort of like drawn out subplot can get on my nerves a lot, as seen in this show with Umika and Sakia.
Yep.
What, like, when you have a just here's the romance episode, it doesn't bother me as much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would have been nice if we'd seen the character in this episode earlier, maybe, but it's not super necessary.
Yeah.
It's just like, here's the setup. They've known each other. You don't see everything in their lives. Get over it. Cinema sins.
Excuse me, how does that small chunk of plastic turn into a big robot? Dang!
I fucking swear to God. Like, if Cinema Sins did any tokusatsu show,
they would die.
First, they die. Second, I would actually watch that episode and then do the everything wrong with video for it. Because, Jesus fucking Christ. Because it'd be the easiest thing in the world. Because I would just record myself going, it's a tokusatsu show. And just play that for every single sin.
It is a ridiculous action show made primarily for children.
I said this was going to be about romance subplots, but instead let's just complain about everything we dislike in fiction.
Let me complain about the theoretical situation in which somebody does a Cinema Sins about a Sentai show.
While I'm at it, a mistake is not the same thing as a creative choice you disagree with, you fucking assholes. Anyways, we're talking about something, right?
Why, yes, we're talking about episode 17, Secret Feelings, unless you have something else to add.
No, I just want to make sure you'd said everything you wanted to.
Now, is there an alternate title other than Secret Feelings?
Hidden Feelings?
Okay, so they'll be saying that throughout the episode instead.
I wonder if one of these translations comes out sooner, and then when it does, the other's just like, hey, change one word of the title. Because that's happened quite a bit, where it's like the same meaning with slightly different words.
So anyway, happy late Valentine's Day, everybody. Have some flowers.
Yeah, this is going to come out like a week after Valentine's Day, but we're recording it.
You can't actually take the flowers. They're just part of the opening shot of the episode. I'm sorry, I've lied. A young woman says that she had some leftover flowers from her part-time job, and who else is she talking to but our resident dingus Kaiichiro? Kaiichiro happily takes the flowers and says that they brighten up the office, and that everyone enjoys them. The young woman, Mana, clearly didn't get the answer she wanted. Literally every other person in Jure can tell that Mana is hitting on Kaiichiro, except for Kaiichiro himself.
I have one comment on your description so far.
Mm-hmm.
Calling Kaiichiro the resident dingus doesn't quite work because there are at least 3 resident dinguses.
Dingai.
Dingai, yes.
Kaiichiro then decides, as a thank you, he'll let Mana borrow a record, since she said she listens to them at home. She's overjoyed and asks if he'd like to listen to it with her at home. Umika, Tsukasa, and Sakia all look excited that Mana has made a fairly straightforward proposal. Kyra and Tuma are being realistic. And sure enough, Kaiichiro happily tells her that he's listened to the album plenty of times and recommends she listen to the track Secret Feelings closely. And then he leaves. Oh, Kaiichiro, sweetie, Please.
God, this episode is so painful, but kind of funny.
We've set the bar, and Kaichiro is very clearly just oblivious. It's not, like, harmful or anything.
We've set the bar,
directly.
and Keiichiro is running headlong into it, smacking himself in the face and passing out.
He had to crawl to get that low. Unless this is Limbo, in which case he just leapt right over it. But anyway, Tsukasa and Sakia leave in a hurry to go tell Kaiichiro he's a dope, and Mana looks disappointed. Umika tells Mana that Kaiichiro's just oblivious, which, yeah, I'd say. Then Umika, master of the rebound, asks Mana if she'll listen to the record with her instead. Smooth one, Umika. Outside, Sakia and Tsukasa catch up with Kaiichiro, and they berate him. Sakia is especially incredulous, but I don't know, I don't think he's the best person to talk about not picking up on what others think about you. Regardless, Kaiichiro insists that Mana has been so happy because they both happen to like the same music. Tsukasa tells Sakia to just drop it, because if your friends can't make you realize that a girl has a crush on you, you're kinda hopeless. Meanwhile, on Umika and Mana's way back to the latter's house, Umika insists that Mana still has a chance. Mana's not too cheery, though, as Umika's encouragement only barely makes her smile. But, of course, we can't leave a moment like this alone, because it's Ganglar time. Today's Ganglar is a pink Baku, who puts a group of people to sleep with, as Bakus are wont to do. Umika makes her escape with Mana, but can't transform with a witness so close. So, as we cut to the intro, Umika calls Kairi.
This is the second time in a row, I think, that we've seen a Baku that interrupts a romantic relationship. I say in a row, referring to times we've seen a Baku.
I mean, we've both played Pokemon since we watched Ayakashi Gohan, I think. So we've seen one.
That's drowsy. Oh god, I feel like I named my drowsy something of like no love, because they won't let me say fucking is illegal.
Baku says, don't frick. Back from the intro, Mana realizes she forgot the record. Dang it, Mana, you should have got that while the narrator was talking about the Lupin collection. But of course she doubles back faster than Umika can catch her. Meanwhile, Baku is looking over one of his victims who's dreaming about ramen. And probably telling him not to fuck her, as Bakus are also wont to do.
Don't fuck the ramen. It will not make it taste better, I promise.
Mana runs in and grabs the record, and apparently doesn't notice the bright pink Baku who's still here, because she doesn't immediately book it out of there. Baku is about to send her to sleep, but he suddenly gets shot. The Lupin Rangers are there, and they tell Umika to get out of there. She does, alongside Mana. Red and Blue grapple Baku, but there's no person to snag the treasure, so Baku uses it instead. Somehow, this Drowsy uses Vine Whip as his hair extends and whacks both Rangers. Red and Blue both go down, but instead of putting them both to sleep, Baku decides to run away. Missed opportunity there, my friend. Meanwhile, Mana makes it home, and Umika remarks about how she lives in a mansion. Umika didn't know she was rich, but Mana assures her she's not. Umika then questions why she needs a part-time job, when she notices the bed of flowers, the same kind as the one she gave to Kaiichiro. Mana apologizes for putting them in danger and says that she'll need to give it back tomorrow. Umika asks why, and Mana reveals that she's going to leave for Austria tomorrow night for her studies, which is why not being able to confess was so crushing to her. Umika promises to set something up for them, and we get some shots of the flowers before the scene changes to the police station. There, Jim is briefing the team on the condition of Baku's victims. They're all comatose, and it seems they're in some kind of dreamland. As Sakia's mind seems to wander, he gets a text from Umika and freaks out. Back at Jure, Kaguya has determined what treasure Baku has, the Long Long Elong, which allows him to extend and contract a part of his body. Tuma confirms that if this is his collection power, the Dreamland ability must be his personal power. In Hell, Destra is berating Baku for retreating so quickly. Baku insists that he was just taken by surprise, and that'll succeed next time. In the meantime, everybody currently sleeping will grow weaker over time until they die. And he'll get HP back as per the rules of Dream Eater. Gosh, Ghosh thinks that it's a boring tactic, but as always, Degranio doesn't care about the method, just the result. The next day at Jure, Umika has told Kaiichiro that Mana is leaving. Sakuya tells Kaiichiro that there won't be another opportunity like this, to which Kaiichiro says that it's so sudden. No, Kaiichiro, it's not. It's absolutely not.
This fucking goddamn idiot. I can't handle him.
Mana then enters the restaurant, and Kaiichiro deer in headlights hard. Umika sits Mana down, and Sakuya does the same for Kaiichiro. They both apologize to one another, and no progress is made. Mana returns Kaiichiro's album, and Kaiichiro slams his head into the table trying to bow. Kairi's having a good time, but everyone else is perplexed.
Kairi's recording this to put it on YouTube.
Dumb idiot can't ask someone out on a date.
He calls it a prank video even though there's no pranks. He doesn't quite understand. He just knows he'll get more views.
Umika gives the pair some tea, and Kaiichiro downs it all in one gulp. He does not remark on whether it is hot or cold. I can only assume hot. Doesn't seem to bother him too much, though.
He fucking destroyed his tongue in that scene.
Mana then gives more flowers to Kaiichiro, and Kaiichiro then tells her that he's heard that she's leaving, and gives her his best wishes, salutes, and Sakuya fucking dies in the background.
Oh god, I don't know why Ryo Yokoyama is so good at background acting. Just anytime you see Sakuya in the background, he's usually doing something a little goofy.
Yeah, he's very good at doing that sort of goofy expression kind of thing. Good at exaggeration. Mana thanks Kaiichiro, who then paces quickly out of the restaurant. Umika follows and tells Kaiichiro to go back and try again.
Do it right this time, you asshole.
Kaiichiro says that he's too nervous. It's his job to catch ganglars, and that's all he has time for. Speaking of which, Tsukasa calls in and tells Kaiichiro that Baku has reappeared. Kaiichiro apologizes and runs off. Umika begs him to at least meet Mana at the airport, but Kaiichiro keeps on running. And before we move on, we see that Kaiichiro has left the album and the flowers on the bench. Elsewhere, Baku is very mad that his power has been insulted, so he's taking it out on another group of people. But before he can put anyone to sleep, the cops arrive. They kaisatsu change, and we cut back to Mana before the fighting happens. As she carries her suitcase, she sees her piano, walks over to it, plays a note, and then we hard cut back to the fight. Yellow runs in out of nowhere before Red and Blue can even come into view, and aggressively beats the hell out of Baku. Ichigo asks why she's in a rush, and Yellow tells him that it's his fault. Ichigo is confused, but Baku is also angry, so before the former can question Yellow any further, he and the rest of the Rangers get vine-whipped. Baku then proceeds to tell the group that the dream world can't be broken from the outside, which isn't a good thing to tell the people you're about to put to sleep. Everyone but Red and Blue are hit by Baku's attack and wind up in a peaceful field. Umika's dressed in a fancy outfit, and she hears a man who's just really happy about his limitless supply of delicious ramen. She recognizes him as one of Baku's earlier victims. She then hears Tsukasa, who is pining over so many stuffed animals that she barely responds to Umika's pleas.
I would love to be in Tsukasa's position, just fucking surrounded by so many stuffed animals.
Oh my god, I need that many plushes.
Sleeping on a bed of stuffed animals.
It's a good thing it's not her episode, because she's tapped out. She's just having a good time. Umika quickly realizes that if the dream can't be broken from the outside, then she'll have to do so from the inside. Then Sakuya comes running in, excited about Umika's new photo album. Apparently that's Umika's dream, and I guess Sakuya doesn't have any loftier goals than buying a thing Umika made. We also see Sakuya's soul being siphoned out to be devoured, as Umika runs off and he just reads her photo album, or looks at it.
I'll say a quick thing about the photo book that I mentioned when we watched this episode. That is an actual photo book you can buy, but it's under a different name because it's Umika's actress, Haruka Kudo's photo book that they just slapped a new cover on. In fact, the picture they show, I don't think she's ever worn that jacket, but her hair looks like it did during the theme park episode in her improvised disguise.
Coincidentally, we just happen to have this photo where you look a lot like your character, so we're good. Don't need any extra props.
And one other joke, I guess. Haruka Kudo's book is called Do, and Hayami Umika's book is called Mi. So it's a do, re, mi thing, but it's also the last syllable of their names.
Yep.
A lot of jokes in this one-off thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even noticed the title if you hadn't pointed it out.
Well, I wouldn't have noticed if somebody else had pointed it out to me. So there's one guy who sees this shit the first time he watches it and just tells everyone else.
Aha, 360 no-scope. But with noticing things. 360 notice-scope?
No, wait. I like to imagine this person's watching this standing up, and then whenever a little detail pops up, he just spins around and goes, "Got it!"
Well, I'm doing that in real life now. Okay, enough about that. Umika runs across Kaichiro, who's biking across the field. Umika tells Kaichiro that they need to escape, but normal cop Kaichiro is happy here. He mentions that there's no ganglars or crime. That's right, petty theft is gone, as is the super crime committed by actual monsters. No matter what Umika says, she can't convince him to leave.
Hold on, I have a question though. What if, in this dream world, somebody else's dream was to commit a crime? Would Keiichiro have snapped out of it immediately?
Yes. No crime may happen.
I just kind of want to know what that would be like.
Time to crime, and then Kaiichiro just comes in out of nowhere and drop kicks them. So Kaiichiro offhandedly mentions wanting to hum because of how peaceful it is, which gives Umika an idea. She begins to hum Secret Feelings, and Kaiichiro realizes that he's forgotten something important, as we get some shots of Mana playing the song on her piano to accompany the scene. Remembering Mana, Kaiichiro snaps out of it, and knows he needs to return to reality. Kaiichiro then, without any hesitation, shoots the fucking sky, and the dream world shatters. Why did he have a gun?
Because he's a cop. In Japan, they still let officers have guns. Even if they didn't, Keiichiro would be the type to get the extra training for the designated handgun cop. Also, when I first watched this, I wasn't disliking the episode or anything, but it's okay, I can kind of predict what's going on from here, so I kind of zoned out, and then Keiichiro fucking shot the sky. And I just had to pause because I couldn't process it.
The Pat Rangers realized that they were drained of energy, but fight on anyway. Baku is mortified that they escaped his dream world, and Red takes the opportunity to open his safe. 603. Baku tries to charge the Lupin Rangers, but is shot by the Pat Rangers. Good Striker wanders in just in time and decides to help the Pat Rangers, despite Yellow asking for his assistance. The Pat Rangers combine into
Yugo. I listened closely this time. They say Yugo. That's how the name's pronounced.
They combine into Yugo and fight
They
Baku.
combine into, ooh, what's this?
Whoa, Baku, we're going to shoot you. Said fight ends with Ugo kicking Baku through the air from a standing position into a wall, then shooting him with the one-hit strike. Baku dies.
Yugo actually fights in this episode instead of just doing the finishing blow.
It's not much
It's
of a fight because Baku's not going to put up much of a struggle, but man,
yeah, it's kind of nuts to see that. Now that I'm like we're so used to them doing just the finishing move, seeing them like now we're gonna fight for real. It's like, oh shit, they're even more powerful.
yeah, and then they just add an extra flourish to the finishing shot because man, that kick was real cool. But of course, Ghosh arrives to bring him back to life, though not without taking the opportunity to call him dull. Baku, now big, is at least happy to be alive. The Pat Rangers form their Kaiser, but Yellow's upset that they're wasting time doing that when Kaichiro should be going to the airport. Speaking of which, we take a moment to see Mana getting into a cab. Back at the big battle, the Pat Kaiser is doing some cool moves and generally dominating the fight. Big Baku threatens to put them back to sleep again, but Ichigo is determined not to fall for the same trick twice. He deploys the biker vehicle and uses the super yo-yo attack on Baku's staff, destroying it instantly. Oh, and it was called the Emulance. Doesn't matter now because Ichigo deploys the crane. The Pat Kaiser goes into its strong form again, and they use the lockup strike to finish Baku off for good. He dies, having accomplished nothing as a giant. Somewhere in hell, Ghosh yawns. Umika's excited because Kaiichiro still has some time to make it to the airport. And at said airport, Mana reads the article about the Pat Rangers' recent victory. Mana, with no audience but her phone, gives her best wishes to Kaiichiro's work and salutes. As she proceeds to the plane, she puts in earbuds and listens to Secret Feelings once again, and the track plays as the plane lifts off. Kaiichiro watches it from a distance, Tsukasa and Sakia close behind him. Umika runs in and yells at Kaiichiro for not seeing Mana off. Kaiichiro admits that he's awkward and that he can't focus on two things at once. Umika looks disappointed and calls Kaiichiro a jerk before storming off. Tsukasa and Sakia move to comfort Kaiichiro, but he says that it still hurts. As he starts to leave, though, he asks Tsukasa if there is no chance that the Jura trio are the Phantom Thieves. Tsukasa says that they confirmed their alibis, and Kaiichiro decides to drop the subject. But internally, Kaiichiro wonders why Umika was in his dream. That's not quite the end, though, even though that would be a good end point. We cut to that familiar whistle, and we see Zamigo walking through the night. Destra approaches him. Zamigo whistles in surprise. Just that classic.
He whistles all the time, and yet this one whistle sounds so weird coming from him.
So he whistles in surprise as Destra has come to see him in person. And Destra mentions that he's leaked information. Zamigo just laughs and eats some ice. And that's where we end. So, quick question. What is a Mana-san?
What?
You're supposed to say, the question
I
is,
don't
who
know.
cares?
The
You don't
question is, who cares? Why the fuck didn't you send me this bit if you wanted to do this bit?
I'm not gonna send you the bit.
If you gave me a script, I can follow it.
Alright, well, I guess we just have to take a break to listen to Menomina.
Oh god, I didn't link that. I just listened to that song again like yesterday, and I still didn't link it.
So anyway, that's the episode.
Baku.
Baku. What was his actual name? I normally don't
I
call
thought it was Baku. Hold on, where's my phone?
Like, normally I don't call the Ganglars by their name as a joke, but, like, I legitimately didn't catch his name in the episode.
I don't know if they, mention his name. While I'm looking up his name, we can talk about him in general.
There's not much to talk about, though. Like, he's basically there as a conduit for the main idea of the episode, which is the fact that Kaiichiro enters a dream, as does Umika. It's important to see that Kaiichiro's dream is just, hey, what if it was just really peaceful and there was no crime? And that, of course, is also important because, like, once they're out of that, Now Kaiichiro's suspicious of Umika, because there was no real time for her to be put to sleep. So, can't really get out of that one. But other than that, like, of course his natural power is interesting, because
All right.
again, it's the basis of the episode.
Mm-hmm. His safe power is definitely a JoJo stand, though. That has to be one of them. Just make things longer.
Yeah, honestly, you could use that pretty creatively. He doesn't, but, like, you could.
Apparently his name was Nero Kilner. Or maybe that's pronounced Kinner, depending on...
But yeah, he didn't really do anything outside of that. Like, as I mentioned in the summary, he really doesn't do anything in his big fight. Like, he just gets his ass kicked. I don't think he got any shots in there.
Nero's not giving us a whole lot to work with.
Yeah, that's it. He is there so the episode can happen. The end. Ghosh was right, actually.
But there are a couple of things that we can talk about. Keiichiro, I think, is more important and will take longer, so I'm going to talk about a quick thing with Umika instead.
Alright.
So some people are confused as to why she's not affected by the dream world when she first shows up.
That is a good point.
So if we look at how she's able to bring Keiichiro out of it, she just reminds him that, like, the real world exists and it's not this, and that this is a dream. And Umika knows everything about the Lupin collection piece.
Mm-hmm.
So if we assume that you can overcome this just by knowing and remembering enough, Umika's in a better position to know and remember stuff about this than Keiichiro.
Yeah.
Because Keiichiro knows that people are asleep, but he doesn't know they're dreaming.
And also, Umika's probably just a really grounded person. She has to deal with work all the time, so despite her, very upbeat nature, she's got to deal with the shit.
Yeah.
They've got to be back at the restaurant in a few minutes. She can't afford to be distracted by all these dreams.
But the other thing is that even though it didn't fully work, the dream does do a small thing. She's in her school uniform.
Yep.
And that's generally associated with the times when her friend was alive. So we can assume that the Baku was trying to show her Shiho again, and it didn't take. But it partially took because she was in the uniform.
I figured her part of the dream was just, having the photo album.
No, that's all Sakia, unfortunately. It's weird because he, genuinely does like Umika's personality and likes her as a person and not just because she's cute, but... Yeah, different writers. What can you do?
Well, I guess in this case it could just be he's happy for her success, even if it is a visual-based thing. He wants her to be successful.
I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be what you want most. It just has to be something you like.
Mm-hmm.
So Nero took the easy way out. But for Keiichiro, we have to talk about how his romance subplot is handled.
Yep.
Because, oh boy, is it handled.
So, Keiichiro is a gigantic dingus, and, for most of the episode, legitimately does not understand that somebody is crushing on him hard.
Mm-hmm. And what I like about this is that in a worse written show, this could have just been, self-depreciative. If he just, beat himself over, oh, I don't see why anyone would like me, it would be really grating to the audience. So by just making him be oh, I seriously didn't know. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. She told me. Oh, no.
Well, I mean,
it's kind of endearing.
A little bit relatable if that was it, but I do like the way it was handled here because, as he says at the end of the episode, he is very awkward, so when he does actually learn of her feelings, he cannot deal at all because he's married to his job is the thing.
Yeah, and I think that's the more interesting part of the episode for me
Yeah, he puts his duty before his personal feelings.
Yeah, because again, in a worse written show, he would have said like, "Oh, I couldn't do this to Mana. Like, I could get shot, and then what?" And like that view is really paternalistic and isn't letting Mana make her own decisions. So by him just saying like, "I literally can't do my job well if I'm in a relationship, and I can't be in a good relationship if I do my job, and if I have to give up one, I'm not giving up my job."
Yep.
In a weird way, by being more selfish, I guess, if you view it that way, he's actually letting Mana have more agency.
Yeah.
Having more of a part of this decision. I'm just trying to like not go on rants on like relationships and power dynamics, because I'm by no means an expert, but I still have opinions.
Yep.
I think the show is like judging Keiichiro's actions in not really talking to Mana about this.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like everyone around Kaiichiro's like, Kaiichiro, what are you doing? And like even at the end he says he still hurts. Like, there is very clearly a part of him that has screwed up. Like, it's not as if he's blameless in this by being inept at relationships and then choosing one or the other. He still doesn't handle it well, and that's a problem.
Yeah. I was about to just repeat what you just said. I had to stop myself. The scene of Mana talking to the news article is like really sad for me.
Yeah, like,
because it really shows how Keiichiro screwed up.
Like, she understands him to a certain extent, but still,
like, it gives the vibe of like she thinks he's gonna be waiting for him, she thinks he's going to be waiting for her. Or that like she shouldn't pursue relationships in Austria because she's going to come back home to Keiichiro, and I don't think that's clear.
I don't know if I'd quite say that. I'd say it's more just like she understands that like he respects her, you know, in that he did give her well wishes, and that's why she mirrored him, because like she respects him and what he does, even if in the end, you know, they never admit feelings for one another. So I think the end is just she's come to terms with that, but then leaves.
I'm still thinking there's a misunderstanding of like how she thinks of this. Because again, she has to just guess. Keiichiro could have just let her know, and then she would know for sure. But instead, she just has to make her best educated guess, and her best guess is that he has feelings for her, which he does, but she doesn't know where they rank.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of me putting it that way, but like she doesn't know the full situation.
Yeah.
And it's just going to cause problems. They would both be better off if Keiichiro fucking talked.
Yeah. Kaiichiro, please, just say, I gotta do justice first. I've dedicated my life for justice. I gotta kill the hell mob, then we can date.
So you're the guy, you have the advantage in this power dynamic. Society's on your side already. What the hell are you worried about? That was the main thing I wanted to talk about. Putting on my detective hat for Umika's stuff and talking about Keiichiro's dilemma in this episode. Because it is a really interesting like way of going about this romance subplot of like having him screw up in a way where he doesn't just look horrible.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens in everything else. When somebody screws up a romance subplot, they just look like the biggest dumbass or the biggest jerk.
They're just huge jerks, and you get secondhand embarrassment from watching the episode, but no, that's not it here.
And this Kaiichiro is just kind of a dumbass, kind of selfish, but not to an like unlikable extent.
Yeah. So if you've got nothing else to talk about, I don't think I have anything like prediction-wise other than just, man, I wonder what Destra leaked. I want to know what that...
Destra or Zamigo?
Zamigo, rather, yeah.
Okay.
What information did Zamigo leak that Destra found out about?
Oh god, I can't remember what it was, but didn't... No, wait, Destra leaked information several episodes ago. And then that was that. Oh god.
We'll
I
find
made
out
it clear
what
I
it's about
care
eventually.
about the characters, so I kind of lose track of the larger plot hooks sometimes. So I don't remember what Zamigo leaked. I forgot he leaked anything.
So yeah, there's that plot hook, and I'm just wondering, where is this gonna go now that Kaichiro is suspecting Umika again? I want to know what's up with that.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, though, we don't usually talk about the next time on, but the next episode looks like it's going to be interesting, and I can't wait to watch it, even if Loka's not, like, super keen on it.
Yeah, there's just like a part of the premise I don't like. The thing that you're looking forward to, nice. It's amazing. But I'll talk about it in the episode when we cover it. Because I have some words for the fandom and their refusal to let things go.
Look forward to that, motherfuckers. We're taking you to task.
This is a happy podcast, but man, am I just going to be mad until we get to Noel.
We're roasting you, the audience. Unless, of course, I don't know, you don't watch the show and you just listen to us, which, I mean, you should watch the show. Don't know why you would watch us without the context, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I guess if you don't want to fuck with a show that is that is nice to cops at all, I can respect that. But just treat the Power Rangers like you would Paladins. they're just fantasy cops that actually follow rules that every cop should in real life, and yet none of them do.
So, look forward to the next episode of Lupin Ranger versus Paladin Ranger. Alright, so I guess that's it then.
This is the episode that never ends. I'm just not going to do the ending. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we are at LRVSPR. Fefner is at Fefner Masamune. If you want to email us, we are LupinRecap PatReview@gmail.com. And we will see you in the next episode.
Adieu.